for the next 10 days. Then you're going to be displaced, I think.
Right. Then my reign is over. Well, let's go ahead and gavel us in at let's say 9:02 and call the meeting to order. General session is started at 9:02 and will continue until the end of the business. Executive session closed to the public will follow, continuing until the end of business. The board expects. Well, thank you. The board expects. I'm sorry. The board expects to come out of executive session back into general session for the purpose of voting and on the cases discussed during executive session and other applicable board business. Can we have roll call?
Yes, thank you.
Before we do roll call, should we do the narrative to enter into general session?
I thought I just did.
We need to cite the Oregon statute for public meetings.
Okay, I don't have that, so go for
I'll
it.
do it. Yeah. All right. As delegated by the president of the Oregon and Mortuary Cemetery Board, I'm calling the Oregon Mortuary and Cemetery Board into public meeting session under ORS 692-310, OAR 830-011-0010-2 and 3, and ORS 192610 to ORS 192705. This public meeting session is open to the public. The board invites the public to sign up to provide public comment as set in the agenda. Public comment may be limited to 2 minutes per person. The date is, as stated already, April 14th, and the time is 9:04 a.m. This Oregon Mortuary and Cemetery Board will not come to order. Staff in charge of recording this session, if you're not already done so, please start the recording. Staff in charge of roll call, please commence the roll call.
Thank you. For the record, we are recording. President Gaskill.
Here.
Vice President Canisares.
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Porter.
Here.
Member Collins.
Here.
Member Harris.
Here.
Member Houston.
Here.
Member Letter.
Here.
Member Johnson.
Here.
Member Loveland. Board Member Loveland. For the record, Board Member Loveland is not currently present. Member Nagus or Nigus.
Here.
Thank you. And for the record, we do have one vacant board member position. AAG Dick Champs. Is our AAG with us? Thought I admitted him to the meeting, but for the record, I'm not hearing our AAG Tony DeChamps.
Was he,
Director,
sorry, Ryan, had he connected earlier?
he was one of the first folks I admitted, though I haven't been able to track if folks have were admitted then left, but I'm not seeing him on my list here. I do see a phone number. Perhaps somebody could identify themselves. Who's 971-235-6441?
That's me, Christopher. Ryan, sorry, Ryan. That's me.
Perfect.
Craig.
Thank you. Then, yeah, at the moment we're without our AAG. We'll continue with roll call for now. Director Dresselhaus.
Here.
Staff Member Brown.
Present.
I, Staff Member Christopher, am present. Staff Member Hune.
Here.
Staff Member Itkin.
Here.
Staff Member Nelson.
Present.
Staff Member Cowell.
Present.
That concludes roll call.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go right into general session. We need approval of general session meeting minutes from November 12th, 2025. Do I hear a motion to approve those? Cricket.
Board member
Cricket.
Melissa, I think you're the one who volunteered for this session, correct?
Oh, yes. Sorry. I forgot that.
Melissa first. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, January 20th, 2026, meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I so move. Order.
Do I have a second? Just say your name.
Neil Nagus.
Nail? Okay. And all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None being so, then we go to president comments. I really don't have a lot to say other than welcome. We have a nice crowd here today. So thank you all for being here. And we are got quite a load today. So we're just going to keep on moving forward with the presentation of the executive director.
Thank you, President Rob. First of all, though, could we get an accounting of the guests, just so we have that on record, so we know who's all in attendance? I'm not sure how we want to do that, Ryan. Should we just have people identify themselves?
Yeah, I can go through who I see and just if they
Okay.
want to provide a maybe just a brief explanation as
Sure.
to who they are. So we've
Yeah,
got Haley
Yeah,
Royer.
let's do that. Thank you. With
Hello, Haley Royer. I'm a funeral director at Springfield Memorial Funeral Home, and I'm glad to be here today.
thank you for being here.
I also see with us we have Haley Morse Miller.
Hi, I'm Haley. I'm the Legislative Fiscal Office Analyst for the Oregon Mortuary and Cemetery Board and the Health-Related Licensing Boards. So just listening in today. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
I also see Olivia Organ.
Hi folks, I'm the Community Engagement Lead at Foundation Partners Group, and this is my first meeting sitting in, so thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
I also see Mark Lund.
Good morning. I'm Mark Lund. I own Smith Lund Mills Funeral Chapel, Sunset Hills Funeral Home in Eugene, Fir Grove Cemetery in Cottage Grove.
Thanks for being here, Mark.
Thank you.
See, then I also see Renew NOR on the screen.
Hi there, Serena Trexler here, Funeral Director and Facility Manager of Renew Natural Organic Reduction and Positive Organics for Pets. Happy to be here.
Anyone else? Did we miss anybody? Speak up or forever hold the peace.
I did also see it looks like Chelsea Chick joined the meeting.
Hey, sorry, really quick. I'm got you guys on in the background. Funeral director manager out at Canby and Malala. Just listening in for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Is
Okay.
that everyone, Ryan?
That's everyone that I can
Okay,
see.
great.
And
Thank you. And then, okay, I guess if people want to do public comment, they can do it after the report. Okay,
Yeah.
so the report has been was included in everyone's packet. The budget summary, how it's been explained to me, although there's some nuances that I'll explain later in the agenda, that our agency has a good, strong cash balance reserve. What that means, I will break out later in the conversation about the condition of overall of our agency and our revenue. As you know, or as been presented, the biennial budget, we are required to have at least a 6-month reserve because of the kind of peaks and valleys of the revenue that we receive. Our license renewals, a majority of them happen at the end of the year. So in order for us to continue to pay expenses that we need to have a reserve for the earlier portion of the year. And the report, as usual, just breaks out how the allocation of the funds are paid and received to our agency. Licensing, permanently lapsed licenses. Ryan will speak a bit about that, I think, later on in the agenda about what that means. But permanently lapsed happened somewhat recently, I believe. April 1st was the permanently lapsed time. So you can look at the page 2 and 3 based on that information. And then on page 4 and 5 lists the licensing type, the licensing statistics from January to April, and shows the trend, whether it's increasing or decreasing. And then on to page 6, compliance. This is specifically the inspections, lists the status of the inspections for the fiscal year. Most further on the right is the fiscal year 26 so far of what inspections have been accomplished. And then on page 7, it shows more in detail of the inspections that have been completed within the quarters, the previous 4 quarters. I guess any questions till now? Going through this with investigations, page 8. One thing I did want to highlight, and I think Aaron's going to talk about it a little more later also, so I'm teasing a bit of things, but you will see that in April, as of April, 35 cases were closed. And that's a real testament to the work that Aaron has done. He's done put in great effort to catch us up. And I'll let him kind of talk about that more when he's speaking later on in the agenda. And then on page 9 and 10, it lists cases presented during last board meeting, gives a status of what their current case status, and you'll see a number of them are closed with consent orders, which is great. And a majority of them are closed just in general as well. So great work on that part. And then finally, IDP, page 11. There are a couple of corrections that have been made from previous reports. Sylvie, would you mind maybe highlighting or giving a brief explanation about that?
Yeah, can you guys hear me before I start talking? Okay, I'll try to make this as fast as I can. So IEP usually receives its monthly transaction reports from DAS about 1 to 2 months after the respective month has passed. Make sure that the ED reports show the most up-to-date IEP numbers. I took to counting the claims by hand. Unfortunately, there was a miscalculation with the IDP total that was in the April 2025 ED report. This miscalculation unfortunately affected the totals in both October 2025 and January 2026. So it was misrepresented during the last meeting. So during a review of the 2025 IDP report year, I noticed the total number seemed a little bit high in comparison to previous years. So I reevaluated the calendar year using the now updated information I received from DAS. And so it's corrected and updated now, but I take full responsibility for these errors and I apologize to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. No, from my perspective, no apology is needed. Calculating numbers and that type of thing can be a bit complicated at times, especially when we receive data after the fact. But thank you for catching those, and we will be more diligent in reporting that in the future. But I am pleased to say, and that's later also, that our IDP year in review for 2025 is accurate. So any questions on, I guess that here endeth the information for the ED report. Any questions? And if not, I guess a vote for approval.
I hear a motion to approve the executive report.
Porter moves to accept the executive director's report.
Do I hear a
Nagus second. Nagus second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? None being so, let's go to public comments. Does any of the, I don't know, do we have a list or anything going on? Is there any public that have anything they would like to share or say? Okay, let's go to the general discussion. Director Dresselhaus, you're on
Thank
again.
you. Thank you. Yeah, I think you'll see my name a lot on these things,
Yeah.
on these topics. Thank you, President Rob. First one is a standing item, a reminder that in every, we review this every board meeting, the board best practices, there is a handout, virtual handout, I guess this time in your general session packet for you to review. And this is, as you, for those of, I think most of you now, each fiscal year, this is graded upon, or this is one of our KPMs, our key performance measures, and the board will vote at the next meeting whether or not we've fulfilled those best practice requirements. Hopefully you review that each board meeting, and if you have questions, you reach out to me or the board officers with concerns. And so just review that at when you have an opportunity, and be prepared to vote at the next board meeting, which will be reported at our next KPM report. So any questions on that? And hopefully they're all yeses. And if not, that hopefully you, I guess moving forward also, hopefully you bring that to my attention or officer's attention as soon as possible if you have a concern, so those can be addressed as soon as possible. Okay.
I have a question.
Number two.
Are
Oh,
we
yeah,
supposed to,
Neil?
are we supposed to submit that or?
There, Neil, there will be a hand, like a slip that you mark either yes or no on the different categories next board meeting,
Oh, okay.
and then you will just submit it. So it'll be provided to you at the next board meeting. So you don't have to
Okay.
worry about it. It'll
Thank you.
be hopefully all packaged nicely for you and convenient for you to respond to those.
Thank you.
Great question though. Thank you, Neil.
Thanks, Neil. Okay, election of board officers. Who's our nominating committee?
I guess I can speak to that, Neil Negus. Fortunately, you won't have to change anything on the website. I think all the current officers agreed to continue, so good news there. Thank you for being willing to do that, you all.
Thank you for heading that up and getting that done.
Yes, thank you, Neil.
Welcome.
And I believe we still need technically an election. So I think maybe what we'll officially do, just to be formal and separate, we'll propose the officer for each position, and then I suggest we just have a vote for each one. That sounds appropriate. Tony,
Yep.
does that sound appropriate?
Yep, that's fine.
So the nominating committee nominates Rob Gaskell for president. So I guess all in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Anyone oppose or abstain? Okay. Congratulations, President Rob. Okay, for vice president, Ruby Canizares is being presented by the nominating committee. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
of those opposed or abstain?
Canizares abstain.
Okay. Okay, Vice President Canizares, it is. And last but definitely not least, for the Secretary Treasurer, the nominating committee suggests or presents Melissa Porter as Secretary Treasurer. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Porter
Any opposed?
abstains.
Aye.
Okay, and Melissa abstains. Okay. Are we official, Tony, then, with that?
I mean, my preference would be now that we've had the individual votes, maybe one vote that has everybody identify their vote by name rather than like all say aye going through the individual votes.
For each position?
No, I think you can, so now that you have the list, say them all and then have the individual, each individual vote for the whole slate.
Okay, Brian, do you mind doing that for the roll call? Board members,
Not at all.
thank you.
So again, this would be a vote for President Gaskill to remain as president, for Vice President Canisares to remain as vice president, and Secretary Treasurer Porter to remain as Secretary Treasurer. Let's see, Rob.
I don't know if I have to abstain or not, but yes.
You, Rugi.
Yes, for Gaskill, and Porter abstain for Canizares.
Thank you, Melissa.
Yes, abstain for Porter.
Thank you, Craig.
I'm sorry.
Did we just need a yay
My
or
phone
nay?
cut. Yay. Yay. Sorry, my phone cut out. Yay.
Thank you, Deb.
Yay.
Holly.
Yay.
Brady.
Yay.
Elizabeth.
Yay.
Neil.
Yes.
That concludes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Okay, licensing renewal, Mr. Ryan. Ryan Christopher.
Ryan, you're on mute. You're on mute, Ryan.
Thank you. So this will be brief. It's just a reminder that as of April 1st, 2026, any licenses or certificates that it had expired after December 31st of 2025, that would be for apprentice funeral service practitioners, apprentice embalmers, funeral service practitioners, and combination funeral service practitioners and embalmers that were not renewed. They have now permanently lapsed and are expired and no longer eligible for renewal. So you could see from the ED report, there were 83 individuals that are now in the category of having permanently lapsed. As of March 31st, 2026, registrations for pre-need salespersons were due for renewal. A $50 reinstatement fee will be applied to any registrations renewed after February 28th. So basically after March. I read that wrong. Sorry, I read that wrong. As of March 1st, registrations for pre-need salespersons were due. So if we didn't get a renewal before the 28th of February, those licenses are now considered lapsed. And they have until May 29th to pay a reinstatement fee of $50 and then also to pay the renewal fee. So again, that is till May 29th that pre-need salespersons have to reinstate and renew to avoid permanently lapsing. And then last bit here is that individuals with a certificate of apprenticeship or a registration or a license which has expired or lapsed should not be practicing under the scope of those certificates or licenses. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Gold Star certificate.
Yes, this letter was, I believe most years our agency receives this certificate. It's included in your packet. It just awards the agencies for those that provide accurate, complete fiscal year end information in a timely manner. So I believe we're very consistent in receiving this. So that means agency's doing well, and the fiscal support that we receive from our partners is also helpful.
Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you.
Okay, the RAC reconvening apprenticeship requirements.
Yes, and 5 and 6 kind of tie together, but just wanted to keep this on everyone's radar. There's been discussions in the past about with 5 is primarily regarding competency requirements. The board charged the RAC to reconvene, the ones that came up with I believe, the specific licensing requirements for apprentices. And then the number 6 is the staff proposal relating to renewal periods and the fees associated. So just wanted to let you know that those are still on our radar. But there are kind of more pressing matters that we're dealing with, but just wanted to restate it and keep this on everyone's, keep everyone aware of this, just so it doesn't fall off on the wayside and is forgotten. So we will get to these as soon as we can, once we address some of the more immediate issues that our agency's experiencing.
Okay.
Brian, did you want to add anything to that?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, all right. Unless there's any questions about that.
Administrative rulemaking?
Oh, I kind of
Update?
covered that one already.
Oh, okay.
I covered kind of both.
Sorry.
Thanks, Rob.
Okay, OMCB newsletter.
Yeah, it was a bit of delay, I think, because of me to get it done, but the newsletter was uploaded to your packet, uploaded to your iPads. We anticipate that those will go out to the licensees and interested persons either today or tomorrow. And it's really illuminating. A significant part of it is disciplinary action that the board's taken. So I think that's really helpful for licensees to see what kind of situations, what complaints that the board has received and made deliberations and determinations on. So another great newsletter published by Sylvie.
Thank you, Sylvie. Upcoming OFDA convention.
Elizabeth, did you want to promote that?
Okay, I can definitely do that. Sorry.
No
So
problem.
the upcoming FDA convention is going to be the 27th, 28th, 29th at the Graduate Hotel in Eugene. And we will have a wine tasting tour as well as the golf tournament the first day on the 27th. And then we will have speakers on the 28th and 29th. But the best part, of course, is the famous Rob Gaskell's band is going to be playing on the night of the 27th. So come party with us for that. But we are hoping to have a good turnout so far. Our numbers are really high this year, and we're really excited for that. But we have some really great speakers as well. They're coming from all over the country, and we have a lot of really good, really awesome topics. And one of our board members actually is one of the speakers, so it's going to be really awesome.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, yes.
Indigent IDP.
Yeah. And not to embarrass that person, but that board member will be Deb Harris, right? Who's speaking. So it's always a great event. And Rob, are you taking song requests, or do you already have a set playlist that you're gonna do?
I almost said something, but our lawyer will get mad at me again, so I can't say what I was going to say. But yeah, we do take requests, and that even go home, we take that request sometimes too.
All right. Well, that's 2 main draws there for going. Well, 3 great speakers in all the events. Rob and his band, and then here Deb present on her expertise. So sounds like it's gonna be a great event. Thanks, Elizabeth, for presenting that. Okay, IDP. So another thing that was in your packet, beginning of it just gives a historical background when it was increased to 30 from 20 and how it's allocated. And then page 3 has a table of claims by region. I thought this was kind of interesting in looking at the previous, the 2024 year in review. Portland Metro has actually dropped from last year. And then interestingly, or I'm sorry, Region 1, should I say, Region 1 actually dropped and Region 2 increased. Or I'm saying, I'm sorry. Region 1 and Region 2, Region 3, all of them, actually all of them dropped. I take that back. All of them dropped from last year except for Eastern Oregon. So went up from 2 to 3. So I thought that's kind of interesting to identify that. I'm not quite sure the implications or what that means, but I just thought that was an interesting comparison. And then on page 4, it shows the total claims received in the pie chart, and then it shows the regions in the state of Oregon. The thing that's interesting, I think, in the table below that with the IDP claims received paid per year, 2025 was the most claims that we've received since we took over administration. And 2025 was also the most claims paid since we took over administration. So I'm not quite sure what that means either, but I thought that was an interesting observation. And then page 5, it lists the claims reimbursed, the claim status, and then veteran status in the last table there. And then on page 6, the decedent races are identified there, as well as decedent gender, which I believe we just implemented a report or two ago. Correct, Sylvie? I think that's fairly new. We started that tracking. And then on page 7, domicile unknown. I think that's a fairly new designation from Vital Stats. They added that designation, I think, as a tracking mechanism for tracking and reporting. So we started tracking that as well. And then page 8, it lists how funeral homes acquired the indigent cases, and the trend continues. Medical examiner continues to be the number 1. Number 2, hospital continues to be the second, and then hospice continues to be number 3. So those are the top 3 ways that funeral homes acquire indigent cases, which probably makes sense from a common sense standpoint. And the other, then below that, the IDP claims complete, incomplete. In looking back at 2020, the 2024 stat, I believe that there were, just look at the numbers, there are more claims incomplete in 2025 than 2024. And Sylvie, would you say that's probably because some of the requirements change, and not from our side, but I think from the entities they're required to reach out to? Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, that's been changing a bunch, and the more straightforward we are with the rules, the more like we're a lot more not strict, but we filter through more now that there's a clear deal. But yes, the VA and the state's program have changed their contact methods the past year. They're a little complicated.
Thanks, Sylvie. And that is actually highlight the new, and we adjusted our, or amended our application, reimbursement application to reflect that. And that actually is highlighted in our newsletter as well. If you saw that, to show the new form, and I believe highlights the changes. And then page 9 of 9, I believe that's probably why the average processing time takes a little longer, is because of kind of the back and forth of applicants probably not providing all the information at first. And then there's probably a little I would assume there's communication going back and forth of what's needed and providing that. So that's would be my assumption about that. So great work, Sylvie, tracking all this information. I know it can be very tedious, but wonderful job. Unless there's any questions, I guess we'll just move to approve the report.
Your motion to approve the IDP report?
Porter moves to approve the ID report as submitted.
Nagus second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Say Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
We have
I
to be
just-
doing by name votes.
I don't think we really do. I think that's just a lawyer thing, but go ahead. That's ridiculous. It takes way too much time. And it's just an ID. We all agreed that we're going to do that. So I don't think we need to do that.
It's specifically stated in the statute.
Let's blaze through this. Rob,
Yep.
Rugi,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Craig, Member Collins.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Deb, Member Harris,
I'm here. I'm here. I got my
Are
camera
you?
on too.
yay or nay on approving of the IDP report?
Oh, yay.
Thank you. Holly,
Yay.
Brady,
Yay.
Elizabeth,
Yay.
Neil.
Yes.
That concludes the vote.
Thank you. Accounts receivable update.
Okay, that's me. Good morning, everyone. First, I want to share some positive developments regarding accounts receivable. Like Chad mentioned earlier, for most of 2025, there wasn't a compliance manager to work on board disciplinary actions or the follow-up processes to collect civil penalties. Once I started, there was a significant amount of work to do and a lot for me to learn. I discovered a case from 2023, 8 from 2024, and 29 cases from 2025, which didn't have notices of proposed disciplinary actions prepared or sent to respondents. All of these cases, except for the 2 you'll hear in executive session, were closed by consent order. There were no final default orders required to be issued, and no respondent was sent to collections to DOR. 2 respondents asked for payment plans, and Executive Director Dresselhaus approved the requests. Ultimately, both respondents paid in full on the date their first payment was due, so that was good. Cumulatively, we've collected $50,625 in civil penalties owed from these cases. That does not include the 2 that will be before you in executive session today. Also, I've been getting caught up with the Department of Revenue collections work and the accounts receivable processes. Today, I'm requesting on behalf of the agency that the board authorize Executive Director Dresselhaus to submit write-off certifications forms to remove uncollectible debt from our accounts receivables. The following cases have been identified by DOR as ROW. And ROW means that the debt has been through the complete collections process. And before I read these licensing names, I want to check with the AG that it's okay to read the names of the licensees and the amount in general session. Otherwise, I can say case 1, 2, 3, 4 if I can't.
Yeah, I think we should stick with the case number.
Okay. So case 1 is for $1,000. Case 2 is for $20,000. Case 3 is for $12,000. And case 4 is kind of unique in that the debt was returned to OMCB when the Department of Revenue was notified that the respondent died more than 2 years ago. That debt write-off amount is $44,000. With the board's approval and DOR's approval of the write-off certifications, these debts will no longer appear as accounts receivables and not be identified as cash revenue in our financial projections or monthly account receivables reports. The debt request today is for write-off certifications in the amount of $77,000. That's all.
We have to take a vote. Sounds like.
I'm raising my hands.
Oh, I can't. This screen is different than it used to be. Yes, go ahead.
So I have a question for you, Aaron. I appreciate your work. And again, without being specific, it doesn't reflect on the last financial report from February, outstanding receivables with a balance of 44,000, 56,950, and another 44,000. Those are still inactive accounts receivable.
The
Sorry,
two
I
for
don't mean
40,
to surprise you, okay? But
Yeah.
there are 3 that are outstanding that on the February financials, we have not received the March. But there are 3 cases, 2 44,000 and 1 56,950. So it is my
Okay.
understanding, based on your report, that those are actively being sought, correct?
So the 56,950, there is a payment plan in place. The board elected many years ago to allow $50 a month to be paid. That likely is never going to be paid because of interest and everything else. The 2 for 44,000, one is the case I just read, and the other for 44 is a relative to this case because the board assessed a civil penalty against the facility and the manager. Okay, so the one I just read for permission to write off is for the manager who died. The other is for the facility. And the reason I didn't bring it today was because we are waiting for an answer from DOR to see if that facility was ever sent to Department of Revenue. The accounts receivable person on our team said he does not believe it was ever sent to DOR. So I didn't want to bring it without first having a definitive answer from DOR that it was either brought to DOR for collections or it was not. So that's why I only brought one of the 44Ks to you today. I'm waiting for confirmation from DOR.
That's useful.
Now that unfortunately that facility owner has also died. So generally collecting money from the dead is it's difficult. And if DOR says you should just write it off, then that's probably what I'm going to bring to you next session.
So it is safe to assume on those receivables, those 3 outstanding ones, we should pretty much not bank on those, is what I'm hearing from you.
Definitely don't bank on the one I brought today for 44K. I would expect that the next board meeting, I will have confirmation from DOR not to bank on that either for 44K. The 56,950, there is a payment plan in effect from what I have been told for $50 a month, but that will probably never be fully paid off.
In my world with inflation, that's pretty much a wash.
I would agree.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate you.
You bet. Thank you.
So let's do a roll call vote.
Out of curiosity, do we first need to have a motion and then a second and then a roll call vote?
I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. There a motion to approve. I lost my agenda here. The accounts receivable update.
Porter moves to accept the accounts receivable update.
Take a second.
Okay, now do your roll call.
Rob.
Yes.
Rugi.
Aye.
Melissa.
Aye.
Craig.
Turn your mic on, Craig.
Member Collins, looking for yay or nay?
I apologize. Aye. Sorry. Aye.
Thank you. Elizabeth.
Aye.
Neil.
Yes.
And that concludes the vote.
I have a question for AAG Tony Deschamps. Is it fair enough to read it because for some people raising the hands might be quicker than unmuting it? Will that be an acceptable form of vote?
Great question. I think as long as we're clear about the hands, it's probably okay.
Okay.
But I can follow up with you with the next meeting.
Or when we go to a vote, hold on, when we go to a vote, just unmute your phones.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, never mind.
Just unmute your phone when we have to go to a vote, or unmute your computer, and then it'll solve that problem. Because I can't, the way this is set up now, I can't see hands, I can't see anything. I mean, I can see hands if I scroll, but
Well, and also
Okay.
for the record, for having minutes, I would not be able to document hands in the minutes. So having your verbal acknowledgement would be preferable.
Okay, board treasurer, annual report, annual review.
Okay, that's me. Yay.
That's you.
So I've reviewed the with finances, there's been some discussions. I don't know if Chad, you want to weigh in on some of that, or if we need to take the discussion to executive session before we bring it back to general for a vote.
Well, I think I want to kind of keep these separate, Melissa, because
Okay.
the thing you'll be signing off on is the calendar year of 2025, that everything's in order that has been presented, because
Okay.
you receive the monthly financial statements, etc. And then this other issue, I think, is a separate one, if that makes sense. If we could kind of keep them separate, because I think what you're signing off on is that everything's just been done properly, and then this other thing is just something that we've encountered, if that makes sense.
Yep. So with a review of the 2025 finances and stuff, everything appeared to be in order for me. So I would move that we accept the finances as they have been presented out to me.
And because Melissa reported, I'd like to make a motion to present this, accept it as presented, and this is member Kenny Zares.
Megan seconds. Yeah.
I guess we got to do a roll call vote.
Rob.
Yeah.
Rugi.
Yes.
Melissa.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Deb.
Yes.
Holly.
Yes.
Brady.
Yay.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Neil.
Yes.
Okay.
That concludes the vote.
Thank you. We're on number 12, the OMCB projected revenue condition.
Thank you, President Rob. And Tony, just for your guidance on this, we have determined that there's an issue with our upcoming cash flow. Is that something that I can fully disclose in general, or is there something that needs to be held for executives?
I don't know how that can go into executive under the limited items we can talk there about. So, I mean, you can share it in public as long as you're fine with the public knowing that information.
Well, I'll just kind of give an overview, Tony, and then you can let me know if our discussion if any, needs to wait till executive, I guess. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, not knowing fully what you're going to discuss, if there's a legal question in there, then we can discuss it in executive session. So if like you plan on asking me whether you can move funds from this to that, that would be permissible for us to discuss it. But if you just want to talk about the budget situation.
Yeah, I just want to talk about something we've encountered or we've discovered. So I think, and actually it'll kind of segue into next steps, which will be okay. So while preparing the 2027-2029 biennial budget, we identified a near-term cash flow shortfall that will require action based on the projections. Based on projections, it's anticipated that we will run out of cash from the administrative side by around September of this year. One factor contributing to the timing of this discovery is that our total cash balance is comprised of three components, which I think most of you are aware of, but maybe not the inner workings of it. Operations and administration, the IDP fund, and then accounts receivable, which can make it difficult to clearly distinguish available operating cash at a glance. So once as we were preparing for our biennial budget, by kind of separating the total cash balance that we have from to operations, administration, IDP, and then the accounts receivable, we determined that the administrative part will potentially run out of cash by September. So when that was discovered, I immediately reached out to our financial partners to determine the scope and the breadth of that. And we had some discussions about potential next steps. And once that was brought to we discovered that as well. I brought this to the attention of the board officers for full disclosure. And so what the plan is now, or what I'll let you know so to immediately deal with as we can, there are, as you may be aware, there's only certain things that we can control within our expense revenue framework, especially expense. So once this was discovered, the determination was to go to 100% virtual inspections, which we are doing to save on travel, lodging, etc. We are migrating to all board meetings to be virtual until further notice. So you may have wondered, why are we going to this? And that's the reason. And the other thing is that we're being very intentional about when we reach out to AAG for legal determinations and legal advice. That just happens to be one of the largest costs, but necessary at times, but we are being diligent in when we need that. So those are some immediate steps. Moving forward, after this board meeting, I will be scheduling multiple meetings to meet with our partners to determine what options there are to help bring us both to keep us above water, but also to establish the 6-month required cash reserve that is a necessity for us to continue operations. Rugi, did you have a question before I move further, or a comment?
Go ahead and finish first, and I did convey that at the end. Thank you.
Okay. So based on this, the only other main factor that we have a control over is licensing fees. And those of you who have been licensed for a while may realize that there has not been a licensing fee in quite a while. We actually looked at the records, and there has not been a licensing fee increase in 22 years. So that's quite a while. And I guess that's a testament to this agency to be able to sustain for that long, but it's unsustainable. It's not sustainable anymore. So we will be working with our financial partners about options. I will be working with the board officers to present those options. And my suggestion will be to schedule a special board meeting in May, preferably the end of May, to where we will have specific options ready to present to the board to determine next steps. And then the board will vote and will allow us to do rulemaking, because as I think most of you are aware, our licensing fees are in administrative rules. So that actually gives us a little more flexibility in that it's somewhat easier to do rulemaking than to do a statute change. So that I just wanted to be transparent and provide the information as soon as possible. It's been kind of a whirlwind of discussions and kind of realization of this and what the implications of it. So I'm being mindful of all that, as are the board officers. And with the options, we are going to have different scenarios to where we have options that are as fair as possible, but also ensure that our agency will be sustainable now and into the future. Okay, go ahead, Ruby, please.
Context of what you're stating, out of cash. Out of cash below the 6-month reserve as required, or completely out of cash. And the reason behind that, the reserve cash administrative part was $423,000. I'm rounding it to that $1,000. Are we going to evaporate that completely, or are we going below the 6-month threshold by policy?
Yes, my understanding is we will be completely out of cash on the administrative side. no reserve, everything will be depleted.
So something is eating that $423,000 from February to September to deplete it.
That's my understanding, and I would have to determine what that specifically means from a monthly basis and cost.
And I will just let you know, full transparency, and maybe Attorney General, AHE can, I did my own analysis when this was delved into me. And context, you have to remember, I was treasurer of a larger corporation and a bigger ledger. I don't see, based on the running average, why we're going to evaporate. We are on average 20 to 25,000 on the red each operating month. I just don't see that going zero. I'm not being complacent. I'm not putting my head in the sand. I'm just not seeing it in the ledger how we as an agency with a balance of $423,000 in end of February, and hopefully you'll give me the report in March, and I will tell you off the bat. I have to admit, I just gloss over this when you give me these reports, right? But when you alerted me of this issue, I dove into, and Rob can testify to this because I've been informing him. I spent a good part of the last week looking at this, and there are some things that maybe I should mention in executive session. But that is very appalling for me that $423,000 as of end of February will go zero in September when we have a running average of deficit of 20 to 25,000 operating costs per month. Average from 2023 July fiscal year. So as you can see, did my due diligence. So anyway,
and I appreciate that. And thank you. I appreciate that, Rugi.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is basically restating what's been told to me. So I think this warrants some more difficult questions about the calculations, because I think there are some things that on our side we have some questions about as well, about what that means. And also,
I don't mean to put you in the hot seat, because the whole context the context here is there's a distinction between zero cash versus going below the 6-month threshold. I could see it going down the 6-month threshold at $20,000 deficit a month. I don't see it happening to zero, unless I am completely missing something in the ledger.
So we're going to be, thank you, Rugi, for all your hard work on this too. I know you and I have had lots of conversations and different things about this. I would just suggest for now we table this, we park this for a minute, and we need to get more information. We just don't have enough information right now. So we need to get to the bottom of a few things that could happen somewhat in executive and some in our special meeting that we're going to have later about this. So if we could just go ahead and move forward with the agenda, and then that way we can go from there, because we have some unanswered questions that we just won't have answers to right now. Thank you. The advisory committee for the IDP.
Thank you, Rob. This actually kind of segued into the discovery, because there has been discussions possibly of raising the death filing fee again. I'm not really a huge fan of that because it was just recently raised, but allocation of that, I would be open to, about maybe mixing that, about changing that a bit to ensure that our agency is sustainable. This segue meaning because, as you know, we've been mentioning wanting to establish an IDP advisory committee for a few years now. And the purpose of that would be to evaluate the program basically from the foundation up. You know, what's working well, what's not. What about, should indigent be more defined, better defined? Are the steps appropriate? Is the reimbursement amount appropriate? And I think that is, since it's been under our administration for a while and we've been able to kind of test it and see how it's working, it's an appropriate time for a committee to be established. So I am seeking direction from the board to where I will send an open recruitment, if you will, to licensees and interested persons to see who would be willing to serve on that committee. Then of course, there'll be a deadline of sending sending your interest, and then I will present that list to the board officers, and they will. And this is in speaking of how advisory committees have been done in the past, in my experience. And then the board officers will determine who will serve on that committee to ensure that there's a diverse group that represents multi-perspectives. So just, I guess, seeking formal direction to begin to establish that committee. And then I'll work with board officers to determine kind of timeframes and that type of thing of assembling meetings, etc.
Well, I can say I'm really interested in being on that. You can ask Sylvia. I've been emailing her a lot lately.
Sure.
A lot of questions.
So is any board member against us doing this? I don't see any hands or anything, and I can't see all the hands, but
this
so
is Ryan. If
Yeah.
I may, I wanted to just remind the board and other interested persons that we did previously have a committee formed to review the indigent disposition program. I believe that was in 2020. So just want to make sure that that's known for the record.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
So yeah, I think board direction of just moving forward with that is a good idea.
Okay, thank you.
And then the strategic planning session follow-up.
Yes. So this was kind of a later addition to your packet, but okay, organize here for a minute. So as kind of a recap of what we did for the strategic planning session, we had held a strategic planning session on Tuesday, November 18th. And every table, it was a well-attended and a robust conversations, and I think well-received overall. And just the energy and everything was it just felt really, really nice. And it was really great that we could combine that with an OFDA district meeting, because I know we had talked about that well, actually, we had that plan before COVID happened to do a strategic planning in collaboration or around the same time of OFDA convention. So I'm glad we're able to get. And I think that's one of the main reasons why we got a significant amount of participants in different ones that may not have participated in other situations. So every table provided their notes. Consolidated notes were compiled into one list or one document, and they were emailed to all attendees on the 16th of March. They had the opportunity to comment by March 23rd. And then this report is a result of those notes. So you'll see the strategic plan report, and then behind that, attached to that, is just the consolidated notes that were provided to all attendees. So what I did with this report is I attempted to provide kind of a summarization based on the 4 different categories that were discussed during the strategic planning session, with some commonalities and some topics that seem to come up, kind of the more just the more common comments that were made. So this report is being presented to the board to determine what do they see in the note and the kind of the questions at the end, or the prioritized action plan on page 4. What are the priorities and what priority levels should be assigned, high, medium, low? What action should be taken to accomplish these priorities? What should be the tentative timeline to accomplish these priorities? So the report is presented just for the board to see highlights, common topics, kind of the hot topics, and then it's open for discussion, I think, to determine where do we go from here with all of this information that's been collected.
Is there any questions or comments for thank you, Chad. This was a fun experience.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And you guys did a lot of work. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Porter. I just have one comment. In discussions with Loveland, who's not here, but as a board and an agency of considering as we're planning with our strategic plans and everything and disaster preparedness and stuff, of having something in place for if something catastrophic happens, like the Cascadia event, and the state building is not accessible. What are our next steps to get OMCB up and running in another location ASAP? Because if OMCB is not functioning because Portland doesn't exist or Portland is in shambles, what are our next steps? Because we can't leave licensees and the public hanging while we figure that out. So that's kind of something to keep thinking about and having some type of a plan with another location on another side of, further away off that whole coastal area of the state. How do we do that?
That's a great point. Does any board members have any thoughts or suggestions on continuity with that, or experience maybe with that, or?
I think that's a compelling question. Honestly, this is Canizera's record. What I would suggest, if that is so compelling, is that we delegate a group of board members or stakeholders, right? This is not just about the board, right? I think this is an opportunity to collaborate with OFDA and the board, right? I don't think this is a singular, maybe key stakeholders on that strategic meeting has to come up, present it to the board, and then the board would vote that, if President Gaskill is so inclined to agree that that's the direction we go, rather than doing it on this forum.
Yep.
So we do have an emergency preparedness representative on the OFDA board. And then there's also a lady with the state who is an emergency preparedness representative. So Jessica Dalling is the OFDA rep with through the OFDA board. She's the person who specifically does that. And so if you had any questions, she would be the person to go to. She is in contact with the person through the state. So I can make sure that anybody who has any questions has her contact information.
Thank you. And just for the record, because we're being recorded, and that was guest public member of the public, Elizabeth Johnson. Thank you. I'm assuming that was you, right? I was seeing your mouth move.
Board member, but yes.
Board member, I'm sorry. It says guest. I apologize. I'm reading. This is one of the clunky things about online, which is my pet peeve. I apologize.
We're getting back into the swing of, it's been a while since we had a virtual meeting like this. So I think getting connected, getting the right link, getting your camera and microphone working, and
Well,
speakers,
I had
think
two links
everyone's
sent
experience.
to me. I had two links sent to me, one through a personal email and one through my work email. So I think it depended on which one I was using. So that's why.
Yeah, I apologize. Again, because I'm reading guest, right? And maybe if there's a way to do this, is the board members be identified as board members on their titles, if that's not too much to ask.
I believe you can change you can amend the name on your descriptor.
Right,
I don't think state employees can, but I think.
Okay, thank you.
Generally you can. So if you want to put board member.
Yeah, I don't know if mine will allow me with work, but
yeah,
I can
it may
always
not
check.
for you either, Melissa. Yeah, you might be limited because I don't think we can adjust ours.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, and what Elizabeth would talk, I think it might be the fatality management work group, and I actually attend that. And Candy Cates is the one. She attended our strategic planning session, and she's integral to that. She actually was really integral, I think, to the conversations because she was going from table to table, kind of providing that information. But I think this is like and they're great and Candy's a great resource, but I believe Ruby has a good suggestion about how we take this to a more, how can we take this to a more specific conversation about OMCB and maybe even OFDA working together for continuity if something were to happen. So I think that's I think that's would be a beneficial conversation to have.
You know, and I think we've talked about this for years, and whether it's OMCB or OFDA or whatever, and we've never done anything about it to take it to that next step, that next level. And so I think it is important for us to consider that and get something done. But if we don't put a
Well,
date on it, we'll never get there.
Jessica has a whole collection, like pallets and pallets of PPE at her location. Like she's started doing things. So she really is a good person to talk to.
Good resource, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, then let me go back to the agenda.
And then, so Rob, and I know it's a lot because strategic planning, I mean, there's a lot of meaty topics here. So maybe we could just, I think it's a good start because fatality management, disaster preparedness is really important, as we've all determined.
Yeah.
It's not if, but when it's going to happen and how we're prepared. But if I could suggest that maybe we keep this on our agenda, it maybe the next board meeting or two, to where we just keep talking about this and maybe other topics as well. Maybe a topic, a board meeting or something, to where we just, because I want our strategic plan to be well-rounded to kind of address all the different categories. So maybe we could talk a little, it'll give board members also time to kind of digest and look at this again and really kind of understand it and think about it a little more, internalize it. But I'll just ask that we just carry this into future board meetings and just kind of continue the conversation, if that's okay.
Perfect. Well, if there's nothing else, I guess we can gabble out of executive session. Or
I think,
general
I'm sorry,
session.
Marianne, looks like Marianne has a comment or question.
Go ahead, Marianne.
Sorry, just Ryan, before exec, would you please resend the exec session link in an email?
He's muted.
Yes, Marianne, I will send you a link to the executive session via email.
Thank you.
Does everyone else have the link? Or does anyone else need it? Just if you're not able to, Ryan, is it okay if they reach out to you for the link? Thank you. All right, I think.
I realize I keep muting myself. Yes, that would be fine.
Thank you. We're all getting back to the swing of it. President Rob, did you want to take a break of some kind before we?
Yeah, let's do a. Let's come back at 10:25. Give us a 10-minute break. Is that good for everybody? And then we'll gavel into executive session.
For the record,
Okay.
the time is 10:15 a.m.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here, public members.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all that you do. Take care and have a wonderful day.
Members, we are going to reconvene after the executive session, though we have no way of knowing when that will be. So if you wanted to kind of check back in later in the afternoon, there is a chance you may be able to catch the second portion of the general session where we essentially vote on what was discussed during the executive. So reach out to me if you have any questions regarding that. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.